Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is July 18th, 2016, and it is Monday, and in the background is CNN and the Republican Convention. And this is going to be just a little video blog. I don't have anything written down, but I got a couple of points that a few things I want to mention. The first thing is I didn't get my nap this afternoon because I got a new cell phone today, the Blu Energy XL with a 5,000 milliamp battery and a great display on it. I paid $300 for this. This is the best cell phone that I've had. I've got it set up with T-Mobile. Of course, all I had to do was, because in April, this is July, in April 27th, I bought the Blue Life 1X, and I paid, well, I think it's $175 here. I thought I paid $200, but maybe I paid, anyway. So I paid, let's say $200 for that. And I liked it a lot. But as soon as I got it, I saw that right after, and I ordered, I wasn't paying attention, I guess, and I saw that for $300, they had the Blu Energy XL. And so I was wanting it. So I ordered this. I was going to buy a ham radio, but instead I purchased this because the ham radio I would very seldom use, the ham radio, and something like this I use every day. And I looked at all the reviews on this and decided that I wanted this. So it was $300. They have a silver and a gold. And it's really pretty. It has a, let's see. It has a great display on it. This is not going to show up good for the camera, I don't think, but it has a really beautiful display on it. It's the best display I've had. Has a fingerprint reader on it. I just set that up. Takes you can put 2 SIM cards in it. I haven't messed with SIM cards too much. Of course, my other phone had a SIM card. I don't know if any of the phones in the past I used a SIM card, but I know with the one before this, I had to, I think, pop off the back and get the SIM card in here. And this, you put they send you a little key here thing. A pen would work though, but put that in and the tray pops out and I put it in. And on the other side, the same thing for putting the micro SD card in there. So this phone has a great display. Everybody agrees it's a great display. They agree it really looks good because it's all metal, aluminum construction. I think except for the, I don't know if you can notice a difference, where the antennas are, that's, I think, plastic, so that doesn't stop the reception and transmission and what have you, and GPS and what have you. So I got it today, or I got this today, and it was, I love Android and I love Google. You know, I entered my Google ID and all the apps loaded automatically for the last, that were as of 2 days ago. All that loaded, and of course all my contacts and just everything. So it's I just love Android. Now, I've never owned anything Apple. I take that back. When I worked at CompUSA, every employee, our store was like number 1 or 2 in sales nationwide, and all of the employees there got an an iPod when they first came out, and everybody got one of those. So anyway, I got this. I missed my nap because I was playing with it. So I was going to try to watch the Republican convention. I don't I hate conventions. When I was in high school, I graduated from, I'm 75 years old. When I graduated from high school, I graduated in 1959. Now, during the time that I was in high school, when the Democratic Convention was held, when I was in high school, John F. Kennedy attempted to get the vice presidential slot, and he came very close, but he didn't get it that year. I was going to Catholic high school, all military, taught by the Christian Brothers, and I was in civics class, and the brother said, write down who you would vote for in this election. So I put down John F. Kennedy. Of course, he wasn't running, and so the Brother Alfred, Brother Conrad, whoever it was, said, no, put down who you'd vote for in this election, and so I wrote down John F. Kennedy again. I was kind of cautious. I was kind of concerned because the Christian Brothers there, some of them were known to take out their sexual frustrations, I think, by punching and hitting and doing other things. I got away with it. So 4 years later, I was out of high school, and John F. Kennedy got the nomination for president, of the United States at the Democratic Convention, and went on, of course, to win. I was going to welding school, and I got an absentee ballot from Missouri, where I was living, and I took it to Cleveland, Ohio with me, and I voted by absentee ballot for John F. Kennedy. I'm not sure if they're going to show any pictures, if you can, maybe, I don't know if you can go look on the internet if you can find photographs, images of the old conventions back when I was a kid and later growing up. The Republican convention, all white people, almost all men, almost all of them, it seemed to me, all of them smoking cigars. They look like, what is it, Monopoly? Is the image on the money, or it's of the tycoon or whatever with that they just looked, and they just looked, but the Democrats didn't look a lot better. Well, they did look a lot better, but the Democrats had a few women, a few blacks, and a younger crowd and whatever. But you should see those pictures of the conventions. It's just what a difference, like I said, I'm just not a fan of watching the conventions. I did watch when Barry Goldwater was picked. I did watch maybe not the entire thing, but I watched his speech, and that would be the 1964 Republican National Convention in San Francisco, California. So, like I said, I graduated from high school in '59, so this was in '64. And so I was watching his speech, and then when he said, extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice, I said, he has lost, he lost the election. Of course, the crowd loved, they just loved that statement. Oh, it was just, and then afterwards, the Republican people, delegates saying, oh, that was just wonderful. He said extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice, and they just loved it. And I'm saying to the people around me, I don't remember who it was, who don't remember if I actually watched it with somebody and then talked about it later or what. But I said, that's it. It's over. He lost the election. And sure enough, I think he carried one state. I'm not sure it was even his state. And actually, Barry Goldwater wasn't compared to, my God, compared to today's Republicans, the ones in the past that we thought, oh God, he's a Republican, I can't vote for him, Oh man, compared to today's crazy, stupid, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch the Republican convention. Because I tried watching a little bit, and then they have somebody on, and I forget. I don't know who the guy. He's making a speech tonight. I don't even know who he is, and he was, oh my God, oh, Donald Trump walks on water. He's, oh, Jesus Christ, my Savior tells me that, oh, Donald Trump, had to turn the sound onto mute. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch it. I'm going to try, because I think it might be entertaining, because with the Trump delegates, if you have let's say Arizona's, all those delegates are for Trump, and they're all going to vote, for Trump. If there's somebody in there who has second thoughts and said, no, I'm going to vote for somebody else, one or more of the other delegates might just beat the fucking crap out of him. The way his followers are. Plus, too, what's going to be interesting is with all the news media there, they're going to be interviewing all these delegates who are just average people with low IQs. They'll be interviewing these people, and they're going to, say, what do you think about Trump's idea of, the wall or whatever? And they're going to say, oh, a great idea. He'll make the Mexicans pay for it, and he'll keep out all those murderers and rapists that are coming over. And they're just going to say, they're going to say the worst things. And two, tonight, the entire thing tonight is, they're backing up a little bit because I see I'm over modulating the speaker microphone here a little too much. Two, they're gonna. Oh, it's Trump admits it, and all the people admit it. Tonight they're talking about crime and what is it? Law and order. And they're talking about, Nixon, law and order, that we're going to, Trump is even supposedly thinking of copying. He wants to do a speech like Nixon did on law and order. And law and order were code words for, blacks. There wasn't any question about it. It was obvious. Everybody knew it, and so here Donald Trump, I don't think I can stand also to watch some religious people at this convention. Trump, who's been married and divorced. He's been married divorced 3 times, or it would be married twice, married 3 times, and whatever. I guess married 3 times and divorced twice. And then Trump, who couldn't, when they've asked him, what's your favorite Bible verse? He can't even come up with a Bible verse. And then when he appeared before, Jones, whatever that big Protestant church or whatever, where, college, that orders all their students, if you're a student there, they order you to appear here. You will appear in the auditorium for this event. And if you don't, not only are you going to go to hell, but you're going to get a bad grade or get kicked out of school or something. So Donald Trump went there to address the students, and I can't remember, what in the world did he say? Corinthians? What was it? But it was hilarious. The students actually laughed at him. They couldn't, what he said wasn't Corinthians. What was it? Can't remember. But so I'm not sure I can stand watching it. But it might be worth watching because you're going to see, you're going to see these delegates being interviewed, and because they're with all these other people who think the same, who are racist and think the same way they do, they're clearly going to state, state what they, what they believe, and instead of being secretive about it, they're just going to be, so it might be, but it's not going to be interesting to me. I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I don't want the other Republican. We only have, well, I was actually trying to join the Green Party for a while. I attended a couple of their meetings in Kansas City, Missouri, and wow. They were good people. Environmentalists, vegetarians, and they were good people, but totally stupid. And they reminded me of the Communist Party. They would fight with each other, and they would also take positions. Like when I was, the meeting that I went to or whatever, that I in Kansas City at the Green Party, they were coming up with their ticket, who was going to be running for mayor of Kansas City, Missouri on the Green Party ticket, and then for each of the city council positions or whatever. And well, this is going to sound, well, I'll go ahead and say it. One of the guys who was going to run, they were deciding to put him on the ticket or not, and he was gay. I wish you knew that I'm not racist, and I fought racism, and also I don't fucking care what somebody's sexual, orientation is. I don't care at all what it is. Why would it bother me? I don't care if there's a couple guys next door what they're doing. I don't fucking care. If there's a couple women upstairs doing it, I don't fucking care. I don't want to watch it. I have no desire to watch that. But I don't care. People are entitled to do what they want to do. So, having said that, and not convinced you, I'm sure, I said, well, of course I was very new. I was very new. I probably should have kept my mouth shut. But I said, because Mr. So-and-so here is gay, he's going to have absolutely zero chance of getting elected. And right away I felt like I should be wearing a bulletproof vest, where's the exit here, I could tell the other people, I was younger, but I'm sure they marked me down as a old, white, prejudiced man or whatever. He has zero chance of winning. So, and I think somebody might have admitted, well, yeah, and then I said, yeah, but why? He's going to pull the rest of the ticket down. It's going to be a disaster. They're going to use that against the entire Green Party ticket. Why not run somebody that has a chance to win, or at least isn't going to pull the thing down? They just oh my God, I was not liked, I'm sure. I think I didn't go back to any more meetings. And of course, when they had the city, the elections or whatever, the Kansas City Star or Times, I can't remember, well, anyway, the Kansas City newspaper, they didn't even list the Green Party wasn't even, they pulled in so many votes they didn't even fucking list them in the newspaper. Maybe they did a few days later, maybe there was some discussion or whatever, but and none of the Green Party candidates won, or even made a. I don't think their families even voted for him. What? Why did they get onto that subject? I do not know. Because I have no switch here that monitors what comes out of my mouth. Anyway, so they held a Republican convention in Kansas City, Missouri. I forget what year, sometime around between 1975 and 1980, and President Ford was president then, and I was a block away working hospital security, and I saw his motorcade go by, and so my son is here to visit me. You want to say hi to the?
Well, I would talk, but my foot's getting cold. I just brought you the watermelon over.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to stop and have some watermelon. I was going to tell you something about, let's see. What other? Well, let me tell you a little something which I found out when I went to Washington D.C. and I can't remember it. Dean. Okay, remember that, so I'll forget it. Dean. Went to Washington D.C. and spent a couple weeks visiting with my daughter and her husband, and they showed me around Washington D.C. And so we spent some time. Well, what I was surprised I was able to do as well, getting around Washington D.C. walking, but what we did is I took every other day off and stayed, so we spent talking about politics and family and all that type of stuff. And I forget how we got on the subject. My daughter works for a union in Washington D.C., Service Employees International Union, and the union has her sometimes when convention time comes up or whatever, they send her and other union employees out to help out a candidate. And she was sent out to be on the road with Dean, who was running for president. And if you remember, the reason I didn't care for Dean. My daughter did. I just didn't care for him. I don't know why. Just didn't. Sometimes, I didn't like Richard Nixon when he, first ran as vice president or whatever under Eisenhower. I never could stand Nixon. But anyway, my daughter was working on the Dean campaign. So I mentioned about, that yelling and screaming that he did, that was on the news. He was doing okay, running trying to get the Democratic nomination. He was doing pretty well. Okay, let me mention here. Who is the guy I was in favor? Can't remember his name. That shows you. I wanted the guy who was married, who had the nice family, had a nice big family. They showed him, and whose wife she'd had cancer. Was that it? She had cancer. Yeah. I think I won't go in. You know what happened with his candidacy. So, but anyway, I mentioned to LaDonna, well, it's unfortunate and it's not fair, but what got, everybody knows what got Dean was when he was seen, yelling. And she says, I was there, and what happened was, she says, nobody there at the time thought anything about it, nobody. not the news media, not the people there. There was no audio equipment. There was no speaker system had been set up. And I don't know whether he was just passing through the room or whatever, or somebody just goofed and there was no speakers, PA system set up for him. So he was yelling because of that, trying to be heard and get across. So the lack of a public, what do they say? For lack of a nail in the horse's shoe, the shoe is lost. Rider was lost. The battle was lost. The war was. So that did him in, just not having a public address system. So they're awaiting Trump's arrival in. I think Trump. I think he's just unbelievably bad. Of course, I'm one of these people who I thought he was a joke. I thought there's no chance in the world that he would get the Republican nomination, and I thought that he would drop out at any time. I was wrong. I said in the very beginning that I thought it would be like, if he did, it would be like the Barry Goldwater thing, that he would be lucky to carry a state. But of course, if you see the polling, there's some where they're polling some states. There's some states where he has higher percentage than Hillary Clinton. By the way, I'm a Democrat. I never wanted Hillary Clinton. Almost anybody, I would like to have had somebody other than Hillary Clinton. But she is 100 or 1,000 times better than Donald Trump. I watch there's some people on YouTube that I like that do, and I watch some. There's one guy that does, he makes 2-hour videos, and I watch usually the entire 2-hour videos. I don't have much of a life, do I? And he's one of these people that says, well, Donald Trump he's a clown and he's terrible, but then Hillary Clinton's not much better, And I don't understand how anybody can think, there isn't any comparison. And Donald Trump would be positively scary. The stupid things he says are unbelievable, and his followers don't care. The other day, well, every day he says something that's incredibly stupid. Now I guess today or yesterday he was saying, well, President Obama. Of course, I doubt he says President Obama. He probably says Obama. When he goes to these things, for when a shooting has happened or something's happened, or when he makes this, when Obama, not President Obama, when he makes these things, well, tears come to his eyes when he talks about the blacks that are shot. But when a police officer, a law enforcement hero who was, whenever he doesn't have tears in his eye. I mean, my God. And then he was, every day he says these stupid things. And I would think that when somebody is that stupid, when he attacked John McCain, who was a prisoner of war for 5 years, who was tortured, who was a military, he was a naval officer. He was shot down over Vietnam, held in prison for 5 years. McCain's father was an admiral, and the Vietnamese tried to do some propaganda and whatever, and they said, okay, John McCain, your father is, we're going to let you leave, and John McCain said, no, I'm not leaving unless everybody with me, everybody in this prison camp, unless they go. So he stayed, and he was being tortured. And Donald Trump, as you know, said of John McCain that he didn't respect him, and that he couldn't respect somebody who was captured, who was a prisoner. And of course, Donald Trump avoided the military draft, admitted to it, talked about, John McCain or Donald Trump was in the ROTC or something, and says that he knew more or knows more about the military than men who are serving in uniform. I mean, the things that he says every day, and he's a lunatic, and he's stupid. But I know there's people like that. What bothers me is the good, decent, the Christians who supposedly care about family values, but they don't care that Donald Trump's been married 3 times. People that supposedly, support our troops, but they don't mind that Donald Trump that's fine if he wants to avoid it. The military, if he wanted to avoid the military, which he did. He took educational deferments repeatedly, and then when he couldn't use those anymore, then he took medical things. It's just unbelievable. But it's not him that upsets me. It's the people who just, when somebody says some of those things, one for me would be enough. Some of those things that he said, that would be enough. I wouldn't vote for him for any position or for any office in any way. But I don't see how people can let these, but if somebody else would want to say, well, he was wrong. Well, he was wrong about murderers and rapists coming over the border from Mexico. But okay, I'll let him slide on it. But then when he says something about one of these other, at some point, it seemed like he'd say, I just can't support this guy anymore. Sort of like Fox News. When you watch, if you watch Fox News, they say things that are just 100% wrong, and you think, well, okay, they're a right-wing propaganda source, okay, and then they, but at some point it seems like you'd say, that's it, I just can't fucking, take them out of the channel thing, so I don't even accidentally go to them anymore. You have to have something that you say, this you can't go beyond, So I don't think I can stand to watch. I thought Trump's motorcade involved in an accident, Trump not injured. Looks like the Republican convention is going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen because of his followers. Normally everybody would be, like at the Democratic convention, I'm sure everybody's going to be, okay, be very careful, the news media is going to ask me this, and I'm not going to cuss, I'm not going to say this, or I'm not going to say that. But with the Trump people out there, I don't know what they're going to say. Somebody's going to say, why are you a Trump supporter, Well, I'm a Trump supporter because I don't want any, of course I'm not going to use the word black, I'll probably use the word N-word. Yeah, it's just going to be, but on the other hand, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that much stupidity. That scares me. Not that we have somebody like Trump. You're going to have a certain number of those people. But to have that many voters and the chance that he might actually be elected president of the United States, and you've got him. The other day he was saying, I support the First Amendment. I support the Second Amendment. I support I don't think he said the Fourth Amendment. I support the Fourth Amendment, and I support the 12th Amendment. There is no fucking 12th Amendment. Jesus Christ. What have we got? And you've got, somebody asked, I forget if it was the Secretary of, what was it? I think it was the CIA. I think it was the CIA, the head of the CIA. If Trump's elected and Trump orders torture to be done, what, will you do it? And the head of the CIA said, no, I would resign office immediately. And you had somebody, I don't know if it was the Secretary of Defense or if it was the chief of the staff or military or what, said, what if he orders a nuclear strike on Mecca? And whoever this guy was, high-ranking person in the government, said it wouldn't happen. The President of the United States he cannot, on his own, launch. He needs the consent of, I think it's the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense. I think that was it, I forget. And that wouldn't happen. So, anyway, a network problem. What do you mean a network problem? We don't want any network problems. This is, I'm not sure if I want to keep it or not. I can't make up my mind. This is a 7-day trial of PlayStation, whatever it is. If you have a PlayStation, you can get 40, 60, or 120, I think it is, channels on your PlayStation hooked up to your TV or whatever. And they just added, I have Roku, and they just added Roku. And I like having CNN back, and the other channel. I signed up for the 60 channel deal. I like having them back, but I cut out cable television in order to save money. And if I'm paying for Netflix, okay, fine. I'm paying for Hulu, okay, fine. But now I pay for Amazon, but that's for Prime, I get the movies and some TV shows or whatever, but I don't count that. But if I keep adding things, before long I might as well just call the cable TV company and say, okay, start charging me $150 a month again for television. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. For those of you that I have offended, for those of you who are stupid enough to be a Trump supporter, I'm very sorry that I have maybe offended you. But c'est la vie. I don't even know what c'est la vie means, so